Welcome to Washington's Haunted History. This list of 10 is part of a playlist of gentle listening spooky collections from across the USA. The screen fades to black so you can enjoy the stories without distractions if relaxing, studying or wanting to sleep. Please do consider a like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. First is Black Diamond Cemetery in Black Diamond, which is just outside Seattle. The cemetery covers 3.5 acres and contains 1,200 graves. The name of the cemetery, Black Diamond, could be the name of a racehorse, and a white horse is seen in there weaving in and out of tombstones. It does also feature conventional ghosts though, perhaps because it's the burial place of several miners who died in the Lawson mine explosion in 1910. It's also the last resting place of victims of influenza and smallpox epidemics that took place in the early 20th century. The dead coal miners are seen swinging their lanterns in the graveyard, especially on foggy nights. Other reported ghost phenomena include voices when no one else is around, and whistling that seems to come from several gravestones. At number 2 is Mount Baker Theatre in Bellingham, which opened in 1927 and was fully renovated inside in 1996. Ever since the 1920s, it's had ghost sightings and other paranormal reports. They include unexplained noises, cold spots, strange disembodied voices, balls of light, and apparitions. There's a resident ghost of a young woman named Judy, who for many years has been said to develop crushes on male ushers and projectionists at the theatre. How that all goes down is that the employee will hear the name called across from the stage and will feel ghostly touches on their backs and shoulders. The story goes that Judy's home was where the theatre is now, and it was bulldozed to make way for the theatre. She's just one of several ghosts that paranormal investigators have discovered there. The others include a well-dressed man named Jeffrey, who appears in either a fancy pinstripe suit or a tuxedo. Another is a ghost feral cat that haunts the basement. Third on our list is a popular bar in Seattle called Kel's Irish Pub. Once known as the Butterworth Buildings, the pub is considered to be the most haunted pub in North America, perhaps because it also used to be a mortuary. A large number of bodies passed through the mortuary, thanks to disease epidemics, mining accidents and violent crime, and that certainly left its mark on the property. Some unexplained activity includes mirrors spontaneously shattering for no apparent reason, plaster falling from the walls, glasses being swiped off surfaces, and disembodied voices. The owner also claims to have seen an apparition sitting at the end of the bar, which he described as a mixed-race man with very thin hands and wearing a suit jacket. And number 4 is University Heights Center in Seattle, which was once a school but now has been converted to a community center. It's home to the spirit of a young boy. The youngster is believed to have been a student at University Heights when it was still operating as a school, and it seems like he never left. His story is that a teacher locked a misbehaving student in a closet. She forgot about him and left him there for a weekend. The boy, named Brian, died in the closet. He's often seen and heard playing in the hallways. However, he certainly doesn't seem to be alone in the building, since many visitors, staff and paranormal investigators have all said they've heard a small group of children laughing and playing in the building. At least he doesn't seem to be lonely. Halfway through the list we have the Oxford Saloon in Snohomish. Many different paranormal investigators have investigated it, and many of them have picked up clear examples of electronic voice phenomena, which to me is some of the best evidence of the paranormal. The saloon was built in 1900, but has been modified considerably. It's seen more than its fair share of violence over the years too, especially down in the basement and in the men's card room. One of the most documented murders here is the death of a policeman named Henry, who was a regular at the saloon and who may even have worked as a bouncer on his days off. He's believed to be one of the many spirits haunting the Oxford Saloon today. He most often appears on the basement stairs, but is also known to pinch women in the ladies' restroom. On the upper floors there are said to be 3 more ghosts, a man in a bowler hat and 2 female spirits. One of these ladies is a madam known as Kathleen, and she's described as an old woman dressed in purple with matching purple bows. The other lady is a girl named Amelia, who was forced into prostitution by Kathleen and was found dead in a closet on the property. At number 6 we have the Everett Theatre in Everett, which is 25 miles north of Seattle. The theatre opened in 1901 as the Everett Opera House, hosting big names such as the Marx Brothers, Fatty Arbuckle and George Cohan. It was quiet for spirit activity then, until it was renovated in 1993, which is when reports started to ramp up. While the work was going on, people would often experience the feeling of being watched, and doors would refuse to shut. In one instance, a staff member was on his way out of the projection room when the door wouldn't close. The more force he used, the more resistance there was. Then, suddenly, the door burst open, hitting him in the chest and knocking him to the floor. That projection room has also been the site of other experiences. One time an employee saw a sweater lift off the floor and float in the air before being thrown back down. In another instance, an employee was working on the film projector when he felt he was being watched. He looked up from the machine and saw what he described as a man from his waist up looking at him through the projection window. The man disappeared moments later. Spot number 7 is Tacoma Old City Hall, which has been at the centre of various reports of hauntings since the mid-70s. According to local town records, the police were called to the old building on many occasions starting in 1974 to investigate many different disturbances, including lights going on and off, noises coming from inside, fire alarms sounding, and sometimes the intruder alarms being triggered. Those reporting the disturbances believed that someone was breaking in, but every time the police found no evidence that anyone had been inside. There were no signs of forced entry, nothing had been disturbed, and there was no logical explanation for those disturbances. At number 8 is the Hotel Sorrento in the heart of Seattle. Opened in 1909, its distinct Italian design and luxury has made it a landmark. A restoration in the 1980s also helped it to stay prominent as an attraction, as has its well-known resident ghost, Alice B. Toklas. Known for her pioneering role in, of all things, cannabis cuisine, Alice's monochrome grey form is often sighted roaming near room 408, or unsettling the Dunbar room, where drinks mysteriously stir themselves. While the reasons behind her haunting remain a mystery, the hotel does embrace her spirit, celebrating her legacy with themed dinners and tours, which makes the Hotel Sorrento a haven for those who seek a brush with history, luxury, and the paranormal. For number 9, we have the St. Ignatius Hospital in Colfax. Founded in 1909, it was once a beacon of healthcare, but as the years went on, modern treatments outpaced its facilities, and it closed in August 1964 through lack of funding. Today, St. Ignatius is a hotbed for paranormal intrigue. Witnesses reported seeing the spirit of a railroad worker who had been crushed between two rail cars in 1893. Also, reports include full-bodied apparitions, a mysterious green light that moves about the hospital on its own, and the sounds of laughing, crying, and complete conversations overheard in empty halls. An angry dark mass, said to resemble a swarm of bees, has been encountered on multiple occasions. This thing is known to rush at visitors, causing them to run outside to safety. Other encounters with dark energy in the building have resulted in visitors being kicked, pushed, hit, and scratched. One guide reported hearing what sounded like a stampede of people coming up the stairs while he was on a tour. When they checked the staircase, and assuming a group of kids had broken in, the staircase was totally empty. Finally, Fort Vancouver dates back to the 19th century, but before that it served as a fur trading outpost. It stands on the Columbia River and sits partly in Washington and partly in Oregon. Like so many other old and ruined buildings, Fort Vancouver has its fair share of secrets and fair share of ghosts. One of the most active buildings is said to be the Grant House Art Centre, which sits among the houses in Officers' Row. Some of the strange phenomena reported there includes old-style phones ringing when they're completely unplugged, and doors opening and closing by themselves. There's one particular ghost whom staff members have nicknamed Sully, and who's formed the reason for why this is the usual weird story on the end of these lists. Sully is often spotted in the cafe, drinking coffee. Thank you for joining me on this little journey. From drinks stirring themselves to a coffee-drinking ghost, Washington has some bizarre tales to drink in. I hope you'll be here for the next one. West Virginia.